Great. TJ, are we ready to go? Awesome.
We are good to go.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Hernandez, and I am the Executive Director of the Legislature's Nonpartisan Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. Today, we are especially honored to have joining us young people from across the state to conduct a Connecticut Youth Address Gun Violence Forum. The forum is hosting youth to have them share their lived experiences and reflections on gun violence, as well as the situational and long-term effects of gun violence on their own health and well-being. We're so honored today to be joined by young people from across the state. It's not often that we get to have you speak directly to the people of the state, but it is so critically important that we continue to do nothing here without you that is about you. So I especially want to welcome our young people that are on the screen today. Senator Moore, I'm wondering if perhaps you would start us off by giving a couple of words to our young people and to the public.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'm so proud of the work that this advisory has done over a 90-day period and turned out really a large document considering everyone in the dialogue and in the development of that report. I'm also grateful to Senator Looney for being here today. He's a very busy man. I really appreciate him being here today, but I also appreciate his support as making it a priority for our caucus, right? And I never want to leave the voice of the people most impacted out of any conversation. And Steve will tell you that I'm in many rooms that have to do with families, and I always want to make sure that they're included. And for this instance, I want to make sure that we hear from the voices of the youth most impacted that we're trying to help, right?
I might have to turn this off.
We can't do any of this without their help and without their guidance, and their voices, for me, are the most important. Our role is to carry forth and create legislation based on your needs. And if we don't talk to you or hear from you, we wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you for the people who are on here, the youth advisory, that are willing to come forth with their stories. I appreciate it. And thank you to the advisory for the great work that you did. It's a really great document, and it encompasses, I don't think we've missed anything. So I'm proud of the work you did in such a short period of time.
Needed to be corrected. It's part of the reason.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Moore. And I just want to thank you for that segue to introducing President Pro Tem Martin Looney. Senator Looney, it is no mistake that this was part of Senate Bill 1, which really was your pronouncement as one of the most important issues of the day. So firstly, in introducing you, I want to thank you for your leadership in that regard. And I'd love to pass the mic to you to give a few introductory words to our guests.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And yeah, can you hear me all right?
Perfectly, thank you.
Good. Well, thank you very much. And first of all, I wanted to thank Senator Moore for her leadership and advocacy in pushing for the establishment of this advisory panel as part of Senate Bill 1. And as you said, we wanted to demonstrate the significance and the urgency of all of the issues contained in that bill by designating it as Senate Bill number 1, a significant caucus priority, as we've tried to do for the last few years, to highlight certain issues in a series of low-numbered bills that are significant priorities for our Senate Democratic Caucus. And that, of course, was our major priority in the 2021 session. In many ways, continues to be this year as well, because this year we're focusing on the issues of mental health, especially the mental health challenges being faced by young people as a result of urban violence, and also as a consequence of the pandemic, and often living in isolation and circumstances of great stress because of that. We know that in the wake of the terrible Sandy Hook tragedy in 2012, we adopted a series of gun violence or gun permit restrictions and reforms that were seen as a national model at that time in 2013. In fact, President Obama came to Connecticut at that time to celebrate the passage of that bill, hoping that it was going to spur federal action in the Congress, which unfortunately it did not. And the hopes for momentum out of that bill beyond Connecticut were not realized. But again, I wanted to thank Senator Moore for making this focus a key part of Senate Bill 1, the idea of creating a panel specifically devoted to this purpose, to highlighting the tragedy of gun violence in our society, especially among young people, the corrosive and paralyzing effect that it has in communities large and small throughout the state. And also want to notice I see our friend and colleague, Senator Saud Anwar, who is our chair of the Children's Committee as well, and clearly concerned about the impact of gun violence and trauma on young people, both as a state senator and as a physician. So it's great to be with you all today and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you all, and I'll invite our leaders to please stay with us as long as you can. And at the end of the presentations by the young people on these panels, we will invite you back to be part of a responsive panel to ask questions or to reflect on what you've heard the young people share today. So without further ado, I would like to start our program by introducing the chair of the advisory, Andrew Woods, Executive Director of Hartford Communities at Care and the Director of the Connecticut Hospital Violence Intervention Program Collaborative in 1998. Mr. Woods founded Hartford Communities at Care. As a graduate of Springfield College and a UConn School of Social Work College, Mr. Woods has led over the years on issues relating to violence intervention. In 2004, Mr. Woods established the Hartford Care Response Team, one of 40+ nationally recognized hospital violence intervention programs in partnership with Trinity St. Francis Hospital and Medical Center in Hartford. Chairman Woods, it is such an honor to have you here today. You have done in the last few months what it would take a common person many years to achieve, which is to bring together people and get some of the best advice that we could find so that we can move forward. I now pass the mic to you, Chairman Woods.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hernandez, and thank you for having and convening a powerful team of support through Pina Villano and Thomas. But I also want to thank certainly Reverend, I'm about to call Miss Senator Moore, Reverend Moore, because she's actually been, she's been the minister beating the drum and making sure that we are on task and also making sure we have the support of folks at the legislature. But Senator Looney, I also want to personally thank you as well. I never had a chance to do so, for appointing me to also officially chair this advisory committee that came up with this significant report. One of probably, as long as I've been doing this work, we've never generated that kind of support in the state of Connecticut. And so I'm very grateful for that, that honor. Today, our team has been out all night long since 6 p.m. last night, as early as 1 o'clock this morning, dealing with a double homicide here in the city of Hartford. I'm just getting back to my office just now in time for this forum. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. If I had to take it from the moon, I would have done taken this call from the moon, because it's so important to hear from our young people. And as I was thinking about this forum, one thing stands out to me when I think of Deja Bourne, who's on the panel here today, is that some of you young people that are part of this panel and others across our state, oftentimes you think of folks like myself that do this work of being on the front lines. Folks, let me tell you something. Deja Bourne is on the front line. Aquil Crooks is on the front line. When I look at Parrish and Angel, these folks are on the front line. Our young people are on the front lines every single day in our communities. And they got stories to tell, and we need to listen to them. And I'm always impressed with what I'm learning from young people, because we oftentimes cut them out of the debate, cut them out of their learning their perspectives and how this violence and trauma is impacting them, which actually can further inform the way we can help address it. And so I'm here, grateful to be a part of this panel, grateful to see so many young people on it, and looking forward to also bouncing in and out of the room as well, so that I can learn more and even come back prayerfully to provide additional feedback or input or impression. So thank you again, Mr. Hernandez, and thank you all for convening this vital forum.
Thank you so much, Chairman Woods. I now turn the mic over to Dr. Pina Villano. Dr. Villano served as the Chief Administrator of the task of the Gun Violence Intervention and Prevention Advisory Committee. And we welcome you, Pina, and thank you again for all of the work that you did in convening and in really effectuating this work.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It was an honor and a privilege to work with such talented and brilliant people, and I don't say that lightly. I want to again thank Senator Moore for being a champion with us and being at every step of the way with us with that. And Senator Looney, it is such an honor and privilege to have you here as well. And I know you've been a force behind all of this and putting Andrew in place, and it's been God sent, as well as Senator Anwar and Representative Reyes, who's I saw joined us here. So thank you, and it's a privilege to have you all with us. And most importantly, all of the young people that are here, that we can't do this without you. We have I've worked with many of you out on the streets, watching you at the front lines, how gun violence affects you, and we need to hear from you. And as I mentioned to most of you that I've spoken to, we can't do this without you. As everyone here has said, this is, as Mr. Hernandez says, this is nothing without you along the way. And so we're honored and privileged, and we want to hear everything from you, and don't hold back. And as Mr. Hernandez said, this is a safe environment for us, and we want to make sure that you know that, and we were here and respectful of what you have to say to us. And Stephen, I'll turn it back over to you, or would you like me to introduce folks now?
Thank you, Dr. Villano. That's fine. If you would, go right ahead.
Perfect. And we have our awesome frontline team with us here from Hartford, Mr. Eddie Brown from Hartford Communities That Care. We have from Safe Street Bridgeport, we have Miss Ebony Epps. Arthur Preston is with us as well, Dennis Broadnax, Aquil Crooks. And from Hamden, Connecticut, Miss Kim Washington, who has been an advocate for youth and for gun violence and for communities that change. I'm going to have you each introduce your folks, your youth for you. I think you'll do a better job than I will with that. So if we can start with Mr. Brown, Eddie, if we can start with you and your team.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pina, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eddie Brown. I am the director of the Greater Hartford Youth Leadership Academy at Hartford Communities That Care. This academy consists of a cohort of about 15 to 20 school-age youth that are trained to be peer leaders, peer educators. They research issues that impact them, their peers, family, community, as well, delving into topics, including various topics such as community violence and trauma, education under the new normal during COVID-19, child maltreatment prevention, community organizing, and other economic and health disparities. Our participant they meet weekly, researching and engaging other adult coaches and peers on different knowledge to various topics that they develop to facilitate youth-led forums, conferences, and other opportunities to educate the broader community on different ways to address these complex and societal problems. So today we have two of our participants and one community partner participant that will be sharing today. So first you'll hear from Angel, then you'll hear from Deja Bournes, our Youth and College Ambassador, and then lastly, you'll hear from our community partner, Parrish Smith. So they can go at this time in that order.
Well, my name is Angel Granger, and I work with Mr. Brown. What did I want to talk about? Something that, I've been kind of saying here, really think about talking about is, so I'm still in school. I'm a sophomore and I go to SMSA, Sports and Medical Sciences Academy. And, dealing with gun violence it's emotional, and, not all of us have that support at home. So when we go to school, we feel like, that's our escape, and we can talk to the teachers and counselors and whoever's there. Sometimes, well, from my perspective, I've been going there since the 6th grade, and the things I done went through with losing friends at such a young age, and it just is getting worse over the years. I'm not gonna say it's not a great support system, but it's not the best. Like, it's kind of hard, going to school and not having older people to talk to. about losing your friends. You know, it's traumatizing losing someone at such a young age and having to carry that on throughout the school days and not being able to relate to other people and not having a support system. Like, they don't know how to make us feel better. They don't know how to, how do I say this? They don't know how to help us cope with the situation, which is kind of stressful on us because, like, as an adult, you should be there. You shouldn't feel like, oh, everything's gonna be okay, because it's not okay. But they feel like everything's gonna be okay. They try to make it seem like it's okay, and it's not really okay. Like, a lot of us, we, as of right now, a lot of us have mental health problems, like, you know, going through a deep depression, and it's kind of sad in this situation. Like, something that happened, I'm pretty sure y'all all know about, last month. Was it? I think it was last month or the month before, with the kids overdosing. That was a very tough situation, and a lot of kids are still grieving over that loss with that young boy. And it was really hard. Like, you know, it still is hard, and I feel like they don't have the best support system there, which is what the kids that was really close to them are in that grade is what they need. And, you know, some kids are still going through it. It's still having a hard time, but they need like that support system, and that's what we don't have.
So for me, I feel like it's very draining seeing so many people that are around my age or Angel's age. I'm 21. I'm 20, turning 21 in July. So I lost 2 classmates in a span of 24 hours. And I went to high school with them, and they were only about 21, 22. And so it impacted me a lot because you wouldn't expect to see that on the news, and so soon at that. So, and then on top of that, my first major encounter with gun violence was May 31st with Brother Carl's grandson. He was like one of my closest friends. Even though we only knew each other for 2 years, we had a connection. We talked about a lot of different things. So that was my first encounter with gun violence, and that really impacted me. I went into like a super deep depression, and I didn't know how to actually articulate my feelings because it was my first major loss unexpectedly. And I just feel for a lot of the people that are going through it every single day, because I don't know exactly how people just go about it. It's more of it is what it is. And it's hard because a lot of people are detaching themselves from actually having human experiences. And it's like, I would rather be alone than experience that type of pain again. And I've actually detached myself from people, and I had that mindset of, what's the point when everybody is just going to either leave or die? So it's kind of a detriment to a lot of young people, especially when it comes to gun violence. And I had that similar experience with Angel, where I felt like the counselors at school when I was in high school didn't have that connection or relationship with the students where they could console when it had to do with grief. So yeah, that's what I was really thinking about. I was about to, do the statistics and stuff, but I just felt like I should talk more from my experience instead. So yeah.
They sure did. Very powerful, both of your experiences, and thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's not easy, and I see the pain that's relived from you just telling the stories to us. In the schools, is there anybody there that you felt safe enough to go to or trusted enough to be able to reach out to help you?
I would say probably my vice principal. I've been close to her ever since I left middle school. She's like been there from, since I lost my grandfather and I lost my uncle, and then my friend got killed like last year, and I just lost somebody else due to gun violence. But she like she's been there, so it kind of helped. But at the same time, it's like just having her sit there and be the only person that listened to me is kind of hard. Like, it would be great to have somebody else who will listen to me and actually want to learn about what goes on outside of school.
For me, when I was in high school, it was the security guards. I felt like it was more, they felt like they really wanted to connect with the people that were in the school, good or bad. Yeah, so the people I would talk to was the security guards, and they actually made me feel like I was normal for having those type of emotions and those feelings. So yeah, so the same thing with Angel. Freshman year, I had lost my grandfather, and then after that, it was just a cycle of deep depression and anxiety and constant fear of tomorrow. So it was just those people that made me feel like I was someone.
And you expected the schools that to have more individuals that were trained that could have helped you or could still help you with that, right? And in our communities, is there any other role models that you see that could have maybe helped and guided you during these times of critical pain here?
For me, the person that was really there and connected with me in the community was Eddie Brown. And he always made sure that I was okay. He always did checkups, even when I was busy or wasn't in the mood. He always made sure that I was okay. And he saw me go through that progressive stage of, I don't really want to be here, to, okay, I want to help change the world one person at a time. So that's my community person.
Awesome.
Mine would be, well, then I didn't have nobody in the community to really talk to, but just like Deidre said, now I have Mr. Brown. During them times, I wish I did like have him. And Deidre too, like she's here to talk. Like I talk to her about everything. It helps just letting it out now, or even talking about past grief and recent grief. Like it just helps to let it all go. So I think like those are my two people that I can talk to anytime.
I know, Stephen, you had something.
Well, thank you, Dr. Villano. And I really want to thank the two of you for just for being so willing to share with us not what you describe, not the normalization of your trauma, but the normalization of the response around you, normalization of community and of that support, those critical supports that you can rely on when you are going through tough times. So we want to thank you again. I want to remind those of us who are participating here today that this is a safe space. We are recording for the purpose of ensuring that this is safe to release after the recording. So I just want us all to be cognizant of that as we move forward. Dr. Villano, if you would introduce our next ambassador.
Excellent, thank you. Ebony Epps from Street Safe in Bridgeport. I believe she's here, and I do owe an apology because I said Safe Streets, and I apologize. It's Street Safe in Bridgeport. And that's Ebony Epps, Arthur Preston, Dennis.
Hi, I'm here.
There you go. Oh,
Yes.
go ahead, Go ahead, Ebony.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ebony Epps, and I'm sorry for any background noise because I'm driving. I'm the program director of Street Safe Bridgeport. Yeah, a lot of people say Safe Street program. We're not law lease, and ages 14 to 24 in the Bridgeport area. And my team, I have a great team of credible messengers who mentor them, and they do a lot of advocacy work and support work, whether the kids are in the juvenile system, in the adult system. And they're just always there for them to be that constant support no matter what they do. We like to let them know that we're here no matter what, because you make mistakes, they all make mistakes, but we want to be that support because we know a lot of people in their lives have let them down, people who love them, people who are supposed to care about them, but we're just always here, whether on the clock or not. And we're basically like a 24-hour mentoring service because we get calls at all hours of the night. We also have MOUs with Hartford Healthcare Hospital and Bridgeport Hospital as well. So we get calls anytime that there's a homicide or any act of violence, and it doesn't matter the age. We're there to help with de-escalation, and we're also in the schools as well prior to COVID, but we still do little workshops and things with the schools, but not on a broad base as we were doing prior to COVID. Thank you for having us here. And I have Aquil, Dennis, and Arthur, as Pina said, and Aquil has Shane with him. Arthur has Nathan with him, and Dennis has Jamil with him, and they're going to share their stories. And thanks so much for having us. Thanks, Senator Moore. We appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Pina and Andrew. We appreciate you.
Thank you. We appreciate you and your team, Ebony.
Hey, good afternoon. As you previously stated, I'm Aquil Crooks. I'm program supervisor. I have Shane with me, and
good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Shane Melhouse. I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. You guys are up here speaking about gun violence. For me, it's actually normal now that I grew up around it. Lost many loved ones to it, a lot of friends, all ages, doesn't matter. I think a lot of people around this area and throughout Connecticut and throughout the state really just need to listen to the youth more and actually hear their pain. They think by them sometimes acting out, it's because they're hurt. They don't have nobody to talk to anymore. It's so easy for the youth nowadays to get guns, because they done lost somebody to gun violence. So they feel like they got to do what they got to do and to make them feel better. So it's just like, it's really, people need to hear them out more. And yeah, truthfully.
Shane, where do you think some of the forums are that we would have, either adults or their own peers to be able to do that? Do you have any suggestions for us?
I don't know, like more programs, throughout the communities and schools,
Mm-hmm. We'd love to hear, even after today, if there's anything that you think that we need to know and we need to bring forward, please let us know. We want to hear about it.
No.
Okay, Dennis, would you like to go next?
Yes.
How
you doing, everybody? Good evening. Dennis Brown, next outreach worker for Street Safe. I'm so happy to be here at this forum to share our experience with our youth, what they're going through the gun violence, and just let our voices be heard through Street Safe and do what we could do to help curb this madness that's going on. And the work is much needed, and we got work to do. I'm gonna now introduce to you my young mentee, Jamil Shabazz.
my name.
My name is Jamel Shabazz. For me, I never really grew up around street stuff. I've been in my own lane. For me, I've been to the camera. For me, I've been looking for a job for a minute now. I think like about gun violence, it's just not it. People dying left to right, and people just dying left to right. And my cousin died from a gun. I never really met him, but I mean, really go through stuff. Gun violence is not it. I think they should just add like more programs like Street Safe, Boys and Girls Club, and I mean, jobs, opportunities for kids. I mean, get off the streets, get away from guns and drugs and all that. Well, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And Arthur,
Problem.
welcome.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Arthur Preston, Outreach Street Safe Worker. I have with me Nathaniel Munson. He's going to share a little bit on what he thinks about gun violence.
Hi, my name is Nathaniel Munson. For me, I grew up in Bridgeport. For me, this word shouldn't be mostly around and stuff like that. And for me, there's a lot of shooting over here. It's not safe. I won't say it's not safe over here, but it's not safe for me. And for me, I don't be nervous like that unless if I go outside for me, at night time for me. But I don't be nervous like that. For me, unless I'm outside at night by myself. And yeah. And programs, I think there should be more programs opening up and jobs for younger kids too and stuff like that, where they can get grad. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Are you finding any support in the schools for you?
Yeah. I'm trying to apply to Right Tech, and it's in Stanford. I want to do plumbing and stuff like that.
So
And
some trade school.
Yeah, I want to do plumbing and and run my own business.
Excellent, excellent. I have no doubt you can do it, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Kim, Washington.
Hi.
Hi, Kim. Welcome.
How are you, Dr. Villano?
Thank you. I'm good.
Thank you, everyone. I'm at work still. I would like to thank all the panelists who are here today, and all the young people are here who are actually taking a stand to speak up against gun violence. I believe I was up here a couple of months ago, and I thank Pina, because Pina's very involved, and I stay connected to Pina. And we also have some young people from Hamden, Daniel Hunt, who's here, Montreal Morrison. I'm going to be very brief because I'm still at work, Pina.
That's okay. I appreciate you doing this.
What I want to say is to all the state legislators who are here and present, gun violence it's not just one person's issue, it's everyone's issue. Because gun violence is not just happening I used to live in currently Southern Hamden. Now I moved to Northern Hamden because I had gun violence right next door to my home. And I wanted to be safer. I wanted to actually get some rest, because I was going through some turmoil at work where I wasn't coming into work, and Was I afraid? Yes, I was afraid, but not too afraid to the extent where I was just didn't know what to do. But so I had to take a stand. I discussed it with my brothers, and I said, I don't want to sell our family home. I had to sell our family home, and I moved closer. I moved further a little bit out into northern Hamden, which is very quiet, much quieter, much safer. When I was living in Lower Hamden, I was constantly looking at cameras, which I had provided for myself in my home. While I was at work, I was looking at cameras, but I'm not looking at cameras anymore. And I do feel safe, but to wrap this all up, I think we need more programs for young people in the school system. I think we need more programs in our communities. And I also think that a lot of these nonprofit organizations, they need more assistance from the state of Connecticut. I'm involved in so many different programs. And like, again, I transferred from the high school to the middle school. And I'm getting involved. I said I was going to stop, but I'm getting involved here at the middle school with a safety committee. And again, gun violence is everywhere, but we need our young people to step up. But I praise all these young people who are up here today who are actually speaking out about gun violence. Gun violence can affect you. It can affect you yearly. It can affect you for the minute. It can affect you for the hour. It can affect you for years. It's almost like cancer. It doesn't go away. It's just still growing. And then overall, I'm going to sum it up. We need our state legislators to help fund our communities. We need our community leaders to speak out more and present these issues to our state legislators so we can get some help. Thank you again, Pina. And I'm not going to give up. I'm not giving up on my kids. I'm not giving up on my families. Again, I'm the president of Mothers Demand Action. Also, I'm involved in a volunteer program called Hamden Youth Connections. It's a mentoring program in Hamden, Connecticut. My president is Cheryl Kaprinsky. I'm also involved. Well, my list is kind of long, so I'm going to cut it brief right now. But the thing of it is you have to get involved. My phone, like, again, I'm supposed to be home, but I'm not home right now. I'm still at work. I'm off the clock, but I'm still at work. And I will always assist Dr. Pina Villano. So thank you so much, Pina. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone who's up here today.
Kim, thank you so much. And thank you for all you do for our youth. And I know you will keep fighting no matter how much you say you're backing out. We're not letting you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
and before Daniel or Montrell, I'm going to have Stephen would like to say something.
Well, thank you. It's remarkable to me, and Kim, you really drive it home. It's remarkable to me that when discussing gun violence, and when you go right to the communities that are experiencing the violence, the request is for more engagement, for more engaging of youth, for more resourcing of opportunities for young people. You're not asking for more police intervention. You're not asking for more laws. You're asking for more resource, which is remarkable to me because oftentimes from a distance, it's a lot easier to imagine what you might need rather than when we talk to community. Community tells us what we need more of is less poverty, less hunger insecurity, and less housing insecurity. That's what we need more of. So I really appreciate you driving that home for us. Go ahead, Dr. Villano.
Thank you, Stephen. Absolutely agree with you 150% on that. So thank you. Montrell, welcome. And thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Washington, for the invitation. Thank you, state legislators, for listening and fellow young people for speaking ahead of me. My name is Charles Morrison, CEO and founder of Daniel's Company Youth Leadership Mentoring Program. I'm also the chair of the New Haven Mentoring Collab Subcommittee on Gun Violence and Youth Violence. I'm not going to be long because, again, this is a touchy subject for a lot of us on this call. Again, I'm a mentor. I've been mentoring for just about 10 years. Last year, one of my young kings in New Haven got killed by gun violence. In fact, on Thursday would make 6 months since he's been killed. The young lady touched upon it earlier. Mental health, the mental health piece when it comes down to gun violence is significant. You got young people don't want to go out to school in the community or wherever because of depression, anxiety, trauma, PTSD is a big one. Even us service providers, how many of us go to funerals and go to crime scenes and go to hospitals? Since last year, I've been to 13 funerals since June to January. Most were young people under the age of 18. Also burying a lot of young people on the south side of Hamden, like Ms. Washington just mentioned, which is also increased in regards to gun violence. I will also say too, before I end, I feel like we all need to do better with relationships, way before there's shootings or way before there's homicides. Even the toughest young people just want somebody to be there for them, I'm just not in my organization or in the schools. I'm in the courthouses. I'm at the detention centers. I'm in the projects. I do home visits. It's mentoring is literally a 24/7, 7-day job. It's tiring, but again, without us good people being up here, I believe the homicides would be far worse, more like Chicago or LA and other communities. So again, we just got to really get to know our young people way before a shooting or homicide, because again, a lot of them are not going into a building or getting another service. They already had that. So you got to meet them where they are. And that's by going out in the trenches and literally getting to know them and getting to know their story so you can have a better understanding to maybe why they're doing what they're doing. That's all I have to say. Thank you once again.
Montrell, thank you so much for that. And don't underestimate the work that you're doing in your youth yourself. And, when you say 10 years of being out there, you're not that old to be doing that. So thank you so much for giving so much of yourself into our youth and the fact that you understand what they need and can relate to them and can help them through this. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Daniel, if you could join us there.
Good afternoon, all. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Can
Okay,
we see you or we got
having a little bit of difficulties?
That's okay. Well, we can hear you though.
Well, good afternoon, all. Daniel Hunt, resident of Hamden, commissioner, became the youngest commissioner of Human Services in Hamden last year. I worked in the school system for about 4 years, mentoring kids, created mentoring programs. I lost 2 cousins to gun violence, one at 13 in 2011 in New Haven, and I lost another cousin in Bridgeport last year at 22 years old. One of the hardest things I've ever dealt with growing up, losing family members of gun violence. Ever since I lost, family members and friends to violence or hearing that they've been getting shot, I've always tried to mentor some of the young people on our streets and in our school system. One of the programs I created was an IM mentoring program, and it was pairing up with the 11th and 12th graders with our 7th and 8th grade, our 7th and 8th grade at-risk youth, trying to steer them on the right path, trying to, get them off the streets, help them with homework, with peer pressure, the anxiety, other stuff that they were dealing with. And we seen some good results. Some we can't always help the kids because, they want to do what they want to do. They, want to go on their own path. They don't want the help. That's all I can say as of now. But all I want to say to our legislators right now is that we need them to fund our programs, programs in the schools, the street outreach workers. In New Haven, we have the Connecticut Violence Intervention Program. And, one thing I hear often from Leonard Jihad and his team was, they need more funding so they could fund these programs. And, they waited a long time for them to fund more outreach workers so they can be out on the streets to, work with the kids and in the school system and at home. I visited homes with Montreal and been out to shooting scenes and homicide scenes. And, one thing I always hear people say is that, people have to get involved. We shouldn't have to wait till, there's a shooting or a homicide. We should get involved to try to prevent these incidents from occurring. So that's all I have to say. But all the work I do is from my heart, and I'm very passionate and concerned about the young people out on our streets and in our school system. We got to do more. We can't wait till something happens. We got to do something to prevent it. God bless. That's all I have to say.
Daniel, thank you so much. And as a youth yourself, I have just watched you grow incredibly, and and become the first youth commissioner in Hamden, because they believed in you and the work that you're doing. So that speaks volumes of the character that you are and what you've done in the community and what you continue to do. If you can also just share with the group what you did in New Haven in the police department, that when I first met you there as a youth, and telling, really getting them to understand what youth needed, different programs, and actually pulling the police with you, that I think was pretty unique and worked very well.
Sure. So in 2017, right down the street from my house, there was a shooting of a 13-year-old. And then the next day at a park around the corner, there was a shooting of a 14-year-old. The 13-year-old didn't make it. He died on the scene. The 14-year-old didn't make it. And so I said, enough is enough. There was some stuff that I had prayed about, and the Lord has shown me that it was time to make even more change. So I met with then Assistant Chief Anthony Campbell of New Haven PD, and I asked him if we can create some initiatives in the city of New Haven that's going to help reduce the violence. And one of the initiatives that I came up with was a community walk program. And that program was, every month or every third or second Friday of the month, we will have the police department amongst with street outreach workers and school principals and, the mayor. And we will walk around the neighborhood, talking with the youth, giving them basketballs, business cards, pamphlets, crime prevention tips, to try to engage with the community. And, I had some young people saying, thank you for doing this. We need stuff like this. We don't have this in other towns. It's good to have, the people walking the streets to interact and engage with us. And last year I had expanded that program in Hamden. No, I'm sorry, not last year, in 2020. And I had expanded the program into Hamden. And it was a success. So it had, got national attention from the news and from different media outlets. And yeah, that's all I can say.
And Daniel, you are such an example of how powerful the voice of youth is and what you can do, that even one person can make a difference. And appreciate everything you're doing, and as well as everyone here, all the youths on this panel today. Can't thank you all enough. I think we've covered. Anyone else that I missed here? Well, we covered.
So thank you, Dr. Violano. And what I'd like to do now is sort of open this to a less formalized presentation and more of a conversation. I really want to highlight the fact that several of you said that this work is relational. It's about building and deepening relationships within community among each other, but also those of us who are in the position to make decisions, building our relationships with community as well. So I want to recognize the leaders that are here. I see Senator Moore, you've raised your hand to speak first.
First of all, I want to thank you all for providing that information to us and the time you've taken out to do that. I just want to say there's a common thread here. And I really want to give a shout out to Angie and Desra, because, you know, people look at this as a problem, but sometimes don't understand the impact that it has on someone's mental health. And that piece on trauma comes through all of the time, but it just seems like we're not there dealing with that piece of it. I want to say I just got off a phone call just before I got on here on with you all, talking to Yale Health Systems, two people, asking them to help me locally in Bridgeport to do some programs on trauma so people can understand what is trauma and how does it play out, right? So you see kids acting out, doing things. These children have been exposed to more trauma in their short lifetime than I have in my whole lifetime, which is a lot of years compared to some of these young people. And it plays out in many ways, and they don't even understand why they're doing what they're doing or what is the cause. You know, they're angry. A lot of kids don't have anybody at home during the day. They're mentoring, they're depending on mentors to sit in, but they're still carrying that trauma. Until you deal with the root cause of something, it's never going away. All you're doing is doing a Band-Aid to cover it up. And some people are able to work through it on their own, and then some people are not. And what we're seeing is a lot of these youth that aren't able to work it out, doing things that I don't think they get up in the morning and say, what am I going to do wrong today? I think they get up and think they see nothing else. And all they know is that, and there's nobody there to help them work through what is going on with you. So I know Senator Looney is really strong on doing something on mental health this year. And that was the conversation that prompted me to ask for help to deal with trauma in some of these youth. And that you all are so young and you recognize it, Desra and Angie, that you recognize it at this age, that that's what it's about is trauma. Shame on us adults that don't see it and don't do something about it other than say we see it and not really put things in place and fund programs in the communities, in the community. I don't want to go up the street to the hospital. I want this to be community-based. I want our kids to have it in the school. I want the nurses to be able to be trained and the clinicians to be able to identify not kids who are just at high risk, but other kids. I think about those children that the governor mentioned in his address on opening day in Newfield Park. Baseball, young kids learning how to play baseball, putting together a team, shots fired, right? Shots fired, and they all scrambled and the adults got them to a safe place. But what is the mental state of those kids when they think about going into that park again? What is it, you know, you relate stuff to different things. What will they think about when they think about baseball? How is that playing out? So that trauma piece is so important. And I'd like to see more work done in that area, that we make sure it's in our communities. And then I heard about we need more programs. We need programs that address what we need and really do a good job of it. And this advisory that we put together a report that went to Human Services and to Public Health, right? We will have a hearing on the Gun Violence Intervention and Prevention Commission. But if we had this commission in place, we could start to map what are the programs in place, what works and what doesn't work. What is it that we need more of? So what you're saying is not turning on deaf ears. I totally understand and believe that we all understand what's going on in our community. And Daniel, you talked about this community walk with educators and youth. That needs to take place in every community. And that's that linkage with the police, the teachers that you see every day, and then the community, right? That is really important. You see that happen during election times with different mayors. Well, they'll go out and do that. But that is something that needs to happen all of the time. Those are the small things that everybody can get involved in at their community level. Ask your mayors to do this with the teachers and the police department. Let's work together, community. Those things are the things that we need at a grassroots level that we can do that don't cost any money. And then let's look at what programs are here. Let's see what we have. Let's evaluate them. And then let's figure out what we're missing, right? And I think the large piece of what we're missing is what you've mentioned today in the way of trauma, and someone to be able to go to and mentor and talk to about the problems that our youth are facing. But first of all, if they don't see it as a problem, you know, I heard someone say it is what it is. It is what we make it. And it doesn't have to be, it is what it is. We just need to focus more on taking care of our children and identifying what needs to be done. And I want you all to stay vocal, and I want you all to call us out if we don't get it done. You know, you're all of voting age. Call us out. Demand that these services take place in every single community, and that they're programs that work. So you have my heartfelt thank you for coming forward and speaking your truths. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Senator Moore. You know, oftentimes it's so easy for us as adults to say the kids have lost their way. But what I'm hearing in the tone and in the message that our young people are delivering today is that it's the adults that have lost their way. And unless we are able to understand that they are asking for help, then we're just leading ourselves down a garden path that isn't going to get us anywhere. So I again want to appreciate you for your honesty, young people, in turning the mirror back to us and saying to us, we need your support and your assistance. The violence is an outcome. The violence is not the cause of the problem. The violence is an outcome. The cause are the things that you're describing. That is your everyday. So thank you for that. Again, I'm wondering if any other leaders have any questions or would like to reflect on what they've heard the young people discuss.
Well, I'd like to just mention that I think the young people are inspirational here that we have heard today. Their message is inspiring. They are living in a circumstance where many of them have witnessed the death of close friends or loved ones, and yet they themselves have the courage to try to carry on, to be a role model for a more positive approach to life, even though they have seen this not just in theory, but up close and sense a personal sense of grievance and loss. So all the more reason I think we need to commit ourselves to an effort to try to improve conditions in our neighborhoods throughout the state for young people like this and for their younger peers coming up behind them.
Thank you, Senator. And thank you for that. The humility of leadership and recognizing that there's a lot left to be done. Representative Reyes, I saw you raise your hand next.
Thank you, Stephen. And I just wanted to echo my colleagues in the Senate for their leadership and their words of expertise. You know, I represent the city of Waterbury, which has recently seen an uptick in violence, especially gun violence. And ironically, I just left a meeting this morning with the chief of police, and I meet with the chief of police almost like I'll say that I meet with him at least twice every other month. And what I've been doing is I've been bringing more people from the community in with me for several reasons, because number one, we need to start establishing those relationships, number one, and number two, we need to start building a relationship where they can start now again trusting the police. And I think that's one of the things that's lost, is that there's a bigger gap than we ever thought there was. And Senator Moore did speak a little bit about on the disconnects. And yes, the onus is on us to fill those gaps with meaningful programs and corrective action and policies that will help get these kids, the children, I like to call them young adults, the help they need. And also what I also would like to say is that we do have youth prevention and youth violence prevention programs, and the onus is on us to evaluate and make sure that we have the monies in the right program, as Senator Moore alluded to earlier. And I also will be advocating to get more monies for more meaningful programs for these children, because I think that we just haven't done enough. And then lastly, to the young man that's been interfacing with the police department, he started in New Haven and now he's out to Hamden. He's spot on. That whole interconnection with the police department and the youth is the piece that's missing, so that we can start rebuilding that bridge. of trust and having some positive results. So thank you for the leadership of putting this together. And Steve, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you for that notion of what serve and protect means, and the community that police is serving and protecting. That's really the notion of expanding what we mean by serve and protect, and expanding what we mean by those communities. Those communities include the young people on this screen. So I appreciate you lifting that up. Senator Duff, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Just trying to move my screen here, so because I got the sun coming in. I just want to say thank you, first of all, to everybody who's on the Zoom today. Thanks to Senator Looney and Senator Moore for their leadership, and of course, all of our colleagues, Representative Reyes and others who may be on the Zoom as well. I want to thank the folks who spoke earlier for their authenticity and for just sharing their stories, because they're hard stories to share. And, you know, I think for many of us, we look at this solutions as at least I do, but I know my colleagues do as well who are listening, don't view any kind of solutions as a one-dimensional solution. These are, you know, what we need to do are multi-layered. One thing I've learned in my time in the legislative branch is that there's never a solution to anything. There's always multiple solutions to things. And that's sometimes what's hard, because we like to be able to snap our fingers and say, oh, I took care of that problem and we just did it by this, you know, we had X problem and we solved it with Y solution, but that's never how it is. Everything's always much more complicated than that. And gun violence and any type of crime or criminal activity or violence in general is always a multi-pronged solution. So we all have to work together. But I would just say to all of you, please keep using your voices and stay involved. If you remember, after the shooting down in Florida at the high school, that a lot of those youth ended up changing lots of laws all around the country. And many of them, the day before that shooting happened at Marjorie Stone Douglas High School, never thought probably that they would be on a national stage talking about violence. And here they were making real impact. You all have made a real impact today, but keep it up, because just one time isn't going to do it. You all have to stay involved for the long haul, telling your stories, your personal stories, which isn't always easy, but it does make an impact to people like me, and it makes an impact to lawmakers around the state. So I admire you for your courage and your time and your perseverance, and for being involved. And again, stay involved with us, help us to get laws passed, and help us to make our state safer than it is today, and so that nobody has to go through some of the stories that you've had to, with friends, family, and others who've been impacted by gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And thank you for reminding us that our young people are not tomorrow's leaders, they are today's leaders. And for reminding us that, you know, Daniel, you're a perfect example of this. If we are not serving you, replace us. And it's a powerful message, I think, that you send to us by becoming a leader in your community, and each of you sends to us by speaking here today. I'm wondering, Dr. Violano, if you have any other questions for any of our panelists, or if any of our young people would like to reflect on whatever they may have heard, or anything that may have come to mind as you were listening to some of the leaders on the call speak. Go ahead, Daisy.
Okay, so for me, thank you for everybody that was listening to everything that we had to say and took it with consideration. And for me, I kept hearing PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And I just kept thinking about the research I did with that, and how I found the term complex PTSD, and how that is slightly different from your regular PTSD. So the difference between those two is that PTSD usually occurs after a single traumatic event, while complex PTSD is associated with reported trauma. So consistent violence, consistent sexual abuse, and just consistent trauma over a period of time. So those symptoms in teens, it's constant feeling of emptiness or hopelessness, misplaced guilt over not being able to prevent death or injury, loss of a system of meanings. This can include losing one's core belief, values, religious faith, or hope in the world and other people, feeling as if you are completely different to other people. And then you can see it in children too, which is acting out the traumatic event while playing, loss of speech, more likely to engage in high-risk behavior such as self-harm, unsafe sexual practices, excessive risk-taking, such as operating a vehicle at high speeds. They may also engage in illegal activities such as alcohol and substance abuse, assaulting others, stealing, running away, etc. So I had come across complex PTSD because I was kind of like researching psychology. I was doing psychology on my own time, and I had come across that term. And so when I saw the symptoms and stuff, it reminded me of myself, because a lot of the stuff that I went through a lot of traumatic experiences, starting from the age of 10 all the way to being 20. And so it's very difficult. And so when they said like constant feeling of hopelessness and nobody's helping you, or emptiness, just consistent doubt in yourself. And so when one of the people said that, one of the kids will often do what they want to do, I kind of felt a way when it came to that, because a lot of the kids out here don't really know how to articulate how to ask for help. They're usually used to doing it themselves, or burying feelings, or just constant doubt of themselves that they could ever be fixed again. So I just felt kind of a way about that. And I just wanted to also share another statistic. There's 1 in 5 children will experience a mental disorder, and only 20% of them will get treatment for that. So I just felt like there needs to be more needs met in the systems other than just schools. It could be in the community as well.
Desiree, your testimony is incredibly powerful. I mean, you have just encapsulated the notion of complex PTSD and the notion that you have been involuntarily conscripted into a war that you didn't start, but has been a war that has been waged on communities for far too long. And you're experiencing the trauma that comes from that constant traumatic experience. So I really want to thank you for helping us see this that way, because often the viewer might ask themselves, how can you help us understand what is happening in communities? And you just captured it perfectly. Thank you, Dave. I think that there was another Angel. Did you have your hand up to speak?
Yeah, I did. Oh, okay. So I just wanted to touch base on the gun violence thing. Like in Hartford, they just ended the year with, I think it was the most deaths in 10 years. Yeah, it was 10 years. And nationally, it was 91,000. And most of them were youth. Like, just looking at that number, like, it might not seem a lot to people because the world is so big, but that's huge. Like, just thinking about so many kids who have lost their life and how that has affected everybody. Like, when someone has died of gun violence, that doesn't only affect one person, and it affects us all. Like, nobody wants to see a kid lose their life to something that's not meant for them. Like, it's sad. Like, speaking from where I live at, like, it's an everyday thing. Is someone getting killed every single day because of gun violence? Like, nobody wants to keep reliving that. Like, I would really want it to slow down, because it's hard losing a friend or a loved one or someone I even knew for a short period of time every single day. Like, it's hard. Not only is it hard, but it's affecting my mental health. Like, I'm so young and nobody wants to have to go through that every single day. I would really want us to really look into stuff like this, because not only does it affect me, but it affects so many families out there. And I don't think people understand that. Like, it's hard really losing your friends and then having nobody to talk to or no emotional support. I just really want people to see from my perspective, like, what's really going on, and not just think, oh, it's just kids being kids and they're just doing what they want to do or doing it because they have to do it. Like, it's just hard. And I want people to see how that really affects, you know, people my age or a little bit older than me or younger than me. Because there's no generation coming up. Like, what are they going to do next? We don't know. It could get worse or better from here. And I want us to have an impact on them, whether it gets worse or better from here.
Thank you, Angel. And I can tell you that your words of inspiration are not falling on deaf ears in this forum. And I really want to thank you for your bravery in sharing that desire for a gleam of hope at the end of this tunnel. Desra, please.
For me, it's not only just gun violence, it's also the activities like constant drug use, car accidents, everything. There are so many people that have lost their life, not only to gun violence, but to car accidents and not being able to be safe behind the wheel because of the uncertainty of living the next day, or just YOLO, you know, you only live once. So it's just constant constant ways of, you know, young people losing their life. And it's not car accidents have affected me in a lot of different ways. And that in itself is another traumatic event, because whenever you hear sirens or ambulances or even fire trucks, it's hard for me. I lost my aunt in a car accident not too long ago, and October of 2021. And every time, her car was bursted into flames. And so there was a video out. That's another thing that's really hard. Every time I hear fire trucks or sirens, I just think about that video and how nobody could help save them. So that I can only think about the car accidents and then people who are losing their life due to violence. It's hard when you, because then you put that guilt onto yourself, like how could you have saved them, or what are ways that we could have taken them out of that situation, where we could have just texted them that one text, that one call that could have, stopped that death from happening so soon. So it's kind of difficult when you only talk about gun violence, because there's many other different types of violence, and there's different types of ways that people are losing their lives. And so I just wanted to touch upon that, because that's also a traumatic experience as well.
Thank you, Desra. As we come to the close of our hour together, I think your words really do resonate. There are many types of ways in which despair is evidenced in our communities. It's the harm of self, the harm of others, and risky behavior that you've described. But one thing that is absolutely clear to me is that you are not your trauma, and you have all evidenced that here today. You are hope, you are your voices, you are your presence in community as leaders, and you are your presence in community as reminders to us that a lot of our work is yet to be done, that this work is relational, and that it is critically important. And so I want to thank each and every one of our young people who were brave enough today to come with your ambassadors and to use your voice to help inspire leaders around this table, not just to listen, but also to act. We are beyond the point of listening and at the point of action, resourcing, and really heeding your words. So again, I want to thank our young people. I want to thank our leaders for your stewardship of this important issue. I know that I see now that over the last couple of years, you have developed a strategy that has been unfolding, a strategy of resourcing, of realigning our laws to be proactive and pro-social and pro-community in a way that is really inspirational. So again, thank all of you. Thank you, Dr. Violano. Thank you, Chairman Woods, for your work, and thank you to my colleague TJ Nuccio for your stewardship as well. Again, to our leaders, you have a lot of work ahead of you, but I know that you are lifted by the voices of these children. Thank you all.
Yeah.